Hey guys, welcome back to today's video. Today is Thursday, May 9th, 2019, and today we're going to be looking at a 2020 presidential election prediction between Senator Bernie Sanders from the state of Vermont and President Donald Trump. So I owe you all a bit of an explanation as to why I was gone. Pretty much, number one, my microphone broke. Not so much the microphone, the USB-C to USB-A converter broke, and then I got another one, and that one broke as well. So I have a new one. Hopefully this one lasts for a while. It cost me like $20, but it's good now. The AP government exam is also over, which means that this is the only place I'll be talking about politics too, which is pretty interesting for me personally. And then also, things just got really busy. So I'm going to try to get back to daily uploads, at least, 4 to 5 times a week. And yeah, so today we're looking at a 2020 election prediction. Now, my reasoning behind doing this video is I know I've done this video in the past. I know a lot of you guys have said that my content pretty much repeats. It usually wasn't like that, a couple months ago when the uploads were pretty consistent. I mean, day by day, there were uploads about, 2018 Senate. Actually, no. So probably right after that. And the content definitely did vary, mainly because of the fact that there's a lot more to cover. Right now, we're just in that in-between phase where we're between 2020 and away from 2018, that it's really hard, to gauge upcoming elections. Sure, we have a couple of governor elections coming up in 2019 and one special election, but not too many important things are happening right now. I am going to try to branch off into other things so that I'm not repeating this. And again, like I say every single month leading up to 2020, I will be doing a Bernie Sanders, Joe Biden, Elizabeth Warren prediction, mainly because those are the top candidates right now, but we may eventually throw Pete Buttigieg in there if he holds out up until the month of June. Then I'll start including him. Essentially, it's just the top 3 candidates nationwide, and it's always going to be Bernie and Joe Biden, and then we're going to lead into whoever's in 3rd and 4th place. But again, we are going to do this Bernie Sanders and Donald Trump prediction. So we'll start off with the Bernie Sanders camp. The last time I did this was about a month ago, and the last time I uploaded a video was about 2 to 3 weeks ago. So again, I do really apologize for that. I'm going to try to do a little bit more content for you guys. And especially if you want to see anything in particular, just comment that down below. I'm not going to do any historical elections right now. That would definitely take a little bit longer than doing these analyzation videos for Real Clear Politics or a 2020 election prediction. But if there's anything in particular you guys want to see, an election night also I could do if you guys want to see that. Don't know if you guys want to. If you do, then I'm more than happy to do so. But today we're going to be focusing on a Bernie Sanders Donald Trump video, and I know I've said that like 9 times, so we're going to actually get into it right now. So the first things first, the website I'm using is yet another political map simulator, yapms.com. It has so many features. It's really, really helpful, and you guys can go ahead and go to it and use this map as an alternative to 270 to win. But we'll start off with the Bernie Sanders states. Actually, no, we'll start off with the Donald Trump states, considering that I usually start out sometimes with the Democratic states, and we're just going to see exactly how much of an advantage the Democratic Party typically has in a regular election. So we're going to characterize all the quote-unquote safe Republican states. Again, some of these states can fluctuate into the likely column. None of these states are probably, Utah, maybe, if a third-party candidate comes in. But usually these states are going to stay between safe and likely. It's not going to alter the electoral map whatsoever. So we're going to keep these states here. I mean, if 2020 rolls around and Oklahoma goes blue, and you come back to this video and you come after me for this, okay, I understand. But, looking at the map right now, these are the safe Republican states. For the safe Democratic states, we see the states on the West Coast. Those are the states that we always start off with. The state of Illinois, that little, island of blue in a sea of red. As of right now, we don't know about the Rust Belt states, but going ahead and characterizing all the northern states that are typically Democratic states. Maine's 1st district, which is typically a safe district for the Democratic Party, and of course would be for Bernie Sanders, especially with his better appeal to the Northeast than most other Democrats like Kamala Harris or even Elizabeth Warren. To be honest, I think Bernie Sanders would do better in the Northeast than her. But that puts Bernie Sanders at 183 electoral votes to 125 for Donald Trump. So, again, looking at this map, not much changes. A lot of you guys have said that the electoral map doesn't really change that much, but the American electorate doesn't really change that much either. If you look back all the way from the year 2000, pretty much the South has stayed in the Republican Party. The last time that we saw the state of Georgia go blue was in 1992, and that is one of the few swing states in the South, North Carolina included. That was 2008, the last time it went blue, and it was only by 14,000 votes. And if we're looking at, the Northeast, that area is typically blue. Look over into the West, that area is typically blue. Midwest is typically red. It's just really hard to gauge. Not Midwest, I guess you could say, red wall area, but it's just typically red. The electoral the electoral map does not change because the American electorate does not change. It's not really, my fault because a lot of you have, come after me for that. I understand that to an extent that it does get a little repetitive, but again, that's just how it is. I'm not going to flip, Oklahoma blue just because I want a little variation in the electoral map. But let's go ahead and characterize some of these other states. So we know that some of these states are going to be likely Republican states. They're not obviously going to be safe or just lean. So we'll start off with the likeliest state of them all. And I would actually say that is the state of Texas. The state of Texas definitely has gotten a lot more attention recently. And a new poll has come out from the state of Texas showing Joe Biden ahead by 1% and Bernie Sanders behind by 2%. I think that is pretty interesting, and maybe 2 or 4%. But I think that number is pretty interesting. I do not think that's actually going to be the result. I'm thinking that Texas is going to be a 6 to 7 point margin, which is the likely state by my scale. And I do think that is something that he's going to help out Donald Trump. Looking at Beto O'Rourke, yes, he seems like the candidate that possibly could flip Texas. The polling numbers didn't indicate that. But again, there's very few candidates that could actually make Texas a lot closer compared to where it was in 2016. This one will probably just drop 2 to 3 percentage points, which can be a lot in some other states, not so much in the state of Texas. Looking at some of these other Democratic states, Virginia is definitely going to be a likely Democratic state, if not a safe Democratic state. As of right now, I'm going to characterize it as a likely one. That's just how it is for right now. Virginia going to the likely Democratic column. Pretty solid Democratic state, to be completely honest. New Mexico and Colorado, these are other states that I can now add into the likely Democratic column. And again, looking at the 2018, 2016, 2014, 2012 data, it looks very good for the Democratic Party. I think the last time Colorado went for a Republican in a statewide election, Senate election was 2014, and that was during a Republican wave year. Typically in the presidential elections, I think the last time it went for the Republican Party was 2004. And again, it's a pretty good Democratic state as of right now. Same thing in the state of New Mexico. That one's going to be more of a Democratic state than the state of Colorado. Keep in mind, likely ranges from 6 to 14%. So a lot of improvement. A big range for the Democratic Party there. Could be 6%, could be 14%. Rated about the same. I would say New Mexico is about the upper end of that, and Colorado is about the mid. Possibly 8 to 10%, depending on the candidate, but always could narrow down to 6, 7%, but still going to be a likely state, especially for someone like Bernie Sanders. Donald Trump, however, I do see doing well in an area like Nebraska 2nd. A lot of you guys have said that the rural appeal, and I mean, I've made that argument as well before. As of right now, I'm going to see Nebraska's 2nd district into the lean column. Now, we're starting with the lean states, and we've stayed in the likely column for right now. With a couple of these states, there are some states that are still yet to be put in the likely column, but I do think that it is we're going to characterize Nebraska 2nd as a lean state either way, so that one's just going to stay there. But we'll finish off the likely states for right now because I just want to get that over with and then go into the lean state so we have a little bit more time to talk about it. Looking at the state of Georgia. The state of Georgia, I would consider a likely state under a Bernie versus Trump scenario. I get it that this state hasn't really been the closest state, but I don't think that it's going to be safe for Donald Trump. A lot of people have made the argument that Georgia is still a Republican state. I understand that, but it's not going to be going back to where it was 2004, when it was a safe Republican state, because it's just not. Georgia is getting closer because of demographic shifts and the way that these voters view Donald Trump personally. And it's just not something that overall helps his campaign here, but it's still enough to keep it in the likely column. So we're going to go ahead and keep it likely for the Republican Party. But going to the state of North Carolina, I would say that one goes into the lean GOP column. North Carolina, I get it. The state is always a swing state, but Bernie Sanders isn't that candidate to bring out overwhelming droves of African-American voters to convince a number of these voters to vote for him. He definitely does a little bit better amongst the white working class, which we'll see in just a moment. But looking at the state of Nevada, that one would go into the lean Democratic column. That's just the way it is as of right now. Nevada is typically a Democratic state regardless, and they actually underestimate Democrats in a lot of their polling data, which is really interesting to me. Looking at the state of Arizona, a new poll came out today showing Arizona +9 for Donald Trump over Bernie Sanders. Obviously, it's going to narrow up, and also that one shows Bernie Sanders with only 36% of the vote and Donald Trump at 45%, leaving a whole whopping around, I believe possibly 20% undecided voters, which is absolutely insane. That's just not a good number to gauge an election poll. But again, things do change, and I do think that Arizona is going to narrow down into a lean Republican state. As for Bernie Sanders, he's going to do pretty well in the state of New Hampshire. I see that one going as a likely state. Same thing with Maine's Maine at large, and I actually do think that Bernie Sanders could possibly flip Maine's 2nd district. I do think that his northern appeal is definitely going to do well there, and I think that he's not going to neglect it the same way Hillary Clinton did in 2016 and take it for granted, especially coming from a state like Vermont. The Northeast is just second home to him. Looking at the state of Ohio, though, Ohio and Iowa, I'm really, depending back and forth for that one. I would say the state of Florida, as of right now, would be a tilt Republican state. That one is definitely going to go back and forth, but as of right now, I would say is a tilt Republican state. As for some Democratic states in Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, I'm all going to characterize as likely states. Now, the reason behind that is, number one, Donald Trump's approval rating has not changed much here. It has always been underwater. Number two, looking at the 2018 election data, it is not at all a good sign, with a number of flips in some House races, a number of governor holds, a number of governor flips, a number of Senate holds. It just looks very good for the Democratic Party. I remember there was a Wisconsin Supreme Court election recently, but again, that's not presidential election turnout, and that also doesn't include a candidate that is so unpopular in this state itself, that, pertaining to the state of Wisconsin, that the electorate is going to come out in droves against that candidate. Also, 2016 is going to be a very good lead up to the 2020 election in terms of turnout. Matched presidential turnout in the 2018 midterms based off turnout 8 years ago, which means that it's going to be pretty much overwhelming in 2020. Now, looking at these final two states, the state of Ohio and the states of Ohio and the states of Iowa. As of right now, I do think that Donald Trump can narrowly win the Buckeye State. Ohio right now is going to be a tilt state. I am arguing between tilt and lean. I do think that Ohio is going to stay in the Republican column, but I do think that it's going to be exceptionally close. As for the state of Iowa, though, Bernie Sanders, number one, is doing better in polling data there. It's not super accurate as of where it's taken right now, but it's also interesting that we have data from there. And Iowa, I think that is going to narrowly go for Bernie Sanders. And again, Bernie Sanders' campaign strategy definitely works in a number of these states. I do think that he's going to go to a number of the states that Hillary Clinton did not, which is definitely going to help his campaign. He does say he's going to do a 50-state campaign. He's probably not going to, in all reality, because you can't focus on Montana as much as you do in Florida and expect to win a presidential election, especially being a Democrat. But that pretty much finalizes this electoral map. 285 electoral votes for Bernie Sanders and 253 for Donald Trump. Bernie Sanders effectively winning this election, flipping back to the states of Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Iowa, and Maine's 2nd district. Now, again, thank you guys for watching this video. By the way, if you want to see any videos in the future, 2020 election predictions, 2020 data covering, there's no poll on Real Clear Politics that is something that, and there's a poll that's out there that you want me to cover and want me to go through, go ahead and comment it down below. I will be reading a lot of these comments. Again, I am so sorry for being gone for the past 2 weeks, but again, I'm back now, and I'm going to try to do daily uploads. So thank you guys for watching this video. Comment down suggestions below, and I will see you all tomorrow.